It is never an easy task to put this in front of you. Saying the fiat system is going to collapse, watching the currencies fluctuating way volatile than crypto, it's hard. But if you have this asset in your portfolio and you are here in the market, you have a huge possibility of making out of this. XRP right now on a short-term chart is actually bouncing. Earlier today, I posted this highlighting, there is a possibility we may go higher towards 0.8, 0.1 on this short-term scenario, testing that level of resistance. So when you get to see a trend being formed, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and that continuing, that's actually great. And on the other side of this, you see the dollar, which was strong, slowing down and getting rejected. Now, getting rejected at this point is important because you're observing dollar at a key resistance with a lot of different pairs like INR and others where you see this momentum. And then you getting a bullish candle would have been like, okay, you broke through the resistance. But right now, you're getting a long shaped candle, an engulfing candle, making a reversal pattern. So most likely you're going to come all the way back down and you test around 109, 110. But if you break that one, you may go all the way back lower. Now, why would I say that? Because on the RSI, you got a fake out here. Usually that's like a trap where bulls are getting trapped there. But nothing is for sure. We need to wait and see if the price of dollar bounce from this level. If it bounces, it's a bad news. But in the meantime, when it actually drops, maybe it's 2 weeks, maybe it's even longer. But you are looking at a short-term scenario like this. Okay, that's not 100x, but that is still price of this asset moving higher when the market is low. So against USD, when you zoom out, this is what we observed. We went to the resistance. We hit that level. We are coming back down. We told back in that day saying, okay, this is most likely a support. And right now you observe that the price is slowly bouncing off. You get a wick at that support, and inside that channel, you are close to the resistance. So if you bounce, you're going to test that resistance. And if you break that, this is a short-term scenario, right? You have a short-term trend line, which is the resistance, and the moving average is above the price. So if you go above that moving average and the trend line resistance, which the RSI, if you look at this right now, suggests that it can break higher because the RSI broke out from that trading pattern, trading range, which is a channel, right? So now if you observe this positively, you see the market is showing different signs. BTC did not break to the downside. It shied away from breaking that level, and slowly it is making a bounce from that support. Now, yes, you do have to break through the 20-day moving average, but the RSI is slowly showing you a rounded bottom. MACD is slowly crossing back to the upside second time. So you need to see the price breaking higher. But you also need to keep your eye on XRP price because I think there is a lot happening. Even with all these corrections, the volume did not go back lower to where it was before we started this recent rally. So there is something happening in the market with a lot of new money coming in. So when you see that much amount of tether in the market, we need to see where it's going to flow into, because this is going to be a huge opportunity for you and me who is in the market right now to make a lot of money. This is the scientific investor family, where the normal, common guys, the retail guys, learn how to become the next top 10% of the world. Right now, Bitcoin is showing it's bouncing. You see the altcoin market inside this pattern, where if you zoom out, you'll see a double bottom coming in the RSI, then the price going up and coming back down to make a higher low, which is now another double bottom pattern. This is actually great to observe that the market is giving you signs that it is reversing and it is about to blow back up. So XRP BTC pair, if you're observing this on a weekly, You feel like, okay, this is a pattern which you were forming, but you broke this level, then you broke this level of resistance too. So now you are testing different levels of resistance and you have a retest and bounce which is healthy, and that's what we want to see in this market. So when we look at the XRP dominance and say we broke higher, but we did not yet retest the bottom, it's not only about XRP USD, it's about XRP BTC, XRP Ether, and all other trading pairs. So macro is also super important right now. And when you actually go and look at this, say like, okay, that's something interesting, meaning a lot of things are happening right now. The macro, the uncertainties, all of them are coming in. I don't know how true these are, but looking at this, it does not actually feel comfortable. Because the way the mass media is giving this, I'm like, okay, that's really crazy. There are 7 ways a recession can be good for you financially. So you need to understand what a recession is and think about what they are saying. So now the narrative is changing. Central banks are having a hard time. They were trying to tighten the monetary policy. The currency is falling apart and they now have to go down doing the quantitative easing in different ways without even saying it's a quantitative easing, right? So the macro scenario here is really important. And then for XRP Ledger in precise, when Swift is actually trying to compete with Ripple, the company, and XRP Ledger as a technology and the ILP Ledger, the Inter-Ledger Protocol, they're now trying to partner with different blockchains to develop what they can do with that. But my question is, okay, you are trying to create interoperability there, but Swift is a messaging platform. So the day we are living in, you don't only message the payment instruction. Because if you do so, now you need to pre-fund the accounts at both ends to receive the payment, to send the payment. If you want to do that, that's okay. But at this point, it's really not great to hold your fiat in the other end. Imagine your currency was like Korean won. You held a lot of it. In 2 years, it's down 40% in terms of dollar. So right now, you really don't want to pre-fund. Being a Korean bank, if you are pre-funding now, it is like, okay, the money is volatile. You don't want to be in that screwed up situation, right? And that's when the fundamental stuff comes in, right? For me, I'm looking at this like, okay, Ripple, the company, is expanding. XRP Ledger as a technology is getting more and more adoption. Now you do have competitors like Quant, which is, doing great. That does mean like there is a problem which these guys are solving in the market. And if that is true, that is the only reason why you see them expanding like crazy. Ripple has invested in over 60 companies across the cryptoscape, and then $500 million is the amount which they are talking about. So it's not something small. They are really becoming one of the big institutions here. And in next 2 years' time, as the central bank digital currencies comes out, you definitely will see things evolving. And when you observe like, big amount of XRP is being transacted, you need to ask that question to yourself, like, where are these XRP going? Now, this is not the first of the month, so it's not that stuff. Here, what you're seeing is things happening with on-demand liquidity partners. So that is actually something huge you need to consider. Like, okay, on stage, Brad just told you that on-demand liquidity just went 10x during the SEC case. So the amount of money coming in there is huge. And when we see these, you don't have to even doubt. I'm like, okay, things are really going well. Just in the price terms, it is not. Because on the other side, the money, you are having this issue, the challenge of monetary tightening. Central banks, some of them going tightening, some of them doing the easing. They are now confused what exactly to do. Because they were doing the quantitative easing for a long time, and right now you have the inflation, going through the roof. So you don't have to be, a rocket scientist to know that if you print a ton of money, this is coming, right? Soaring inflation is here, and it's kind of like, okay, now we are slowing down a bit, but if these central banks are going to ease again, print more money, cut the taxes, push more money into the market, that is going to create another blow range of inflation. So whether you agree with that perspective or not, they are trying to do that because their currencies are getting hammered. So as you come look at this, you need to look at which your currency is and then look at against dollar. Because if you observe against dollar, it's losing its path. That's going to be a danger because people are going to move out of your currency unless they are looking at this, because the vast majority who are losing their purchasing power don't even understand this dynamics. They put their money in the bank. After 5 years, they're like, okay, what just happened? I saved up this much amount, but now it's worth half. So don't get confused in that arena. Always look for assets which can help you. Right now, the crypto market is slowly trying to bounce off. And when this is bouncing off, remember, when we started, it was close to 200 billion. We went all the way up to $2.5 trillion. Now we came lower to just below $1 trillion. So now when you go above $1 trillion, understand your base was 200 billion. You went up to 2.5 trillion. You came back to 900 billion. So it was 900 billion. It was not 200, which you came back to. So your base has changed. So if the crypto market is doing another 10x, that is like 10 trillion market cap. So you need to ask, where will this money come from? A lot of people will have this doubt, but look at the market. Individual assets I'm talking about. If you have seen the last video where we discussed about $500 million coming into just one crypto asset, which is XRP, from one currency, which was Korean won. So understand that's a small country with a small GDP, and now you observe this much amount of money is coming into just one asset. Before that, when ETC was going up, we showed you how much money was going into that. So people do see their value in the bank going down and try to get onto assets which are trending higher. So right now, for XRP, are we looking at something big? I personally think that we are looking at something where the market is showing you a change. Now, when we say change, this is a zoomed in view. Because what we are trying to observe right now is that can we really go back up, break this level, because that's like two range. You are talking about this level of resistance, this trend line here, and then this horizontal support, the previous support, which will be acting as a resistance right now. So the key for XRP here is to break through this 0.46. Now, what is the positive scenario? Yes, you are below the resistance, I agree that, but the RSI suggests that you are breaking higher on a 2-hour chart. Then you move on to a 4-hour chart to see like, okay, what does the price actually suggest and the indicators show you. Price is still below the resistance, it is a retest, so if you get rejected, you're going lower, I agree, but the RSI suggests otherwise. It says like, okay, we have a power to blow through this resistance, so it's a moving average, and two resistance. So if you're breaking through that, now you need to understand there is a lot of bullish momentum inside. Otherwise, we won't be able to break through that. Now, we have not broken that level yet. We need to go higher, test that and break it. But as you move out on a daily, this is what you are observing right now. You zoom in and you are looking at this and saying like, okay, what exactly is happening in the market? Ask this question to yourself. The price came lower all the way back to 0.42. So yes, the sellers were able to push the price down to 0.42, but right now buyers are pushing it back up towards 0.45. So if you close this day on 0.45, understand the price came lower all the way back down to the level of support which we talked about last day. And when you get an inverted hammer at a level of resistance, you can say like, okay, there is something happening. But when you actually see a hammer like this, which is going to close right now, it's showing like it is going to close on a bullish note, which is buyers are now winning the game. If it was in red, you can still say like, okay, buyers tried to push the price up, but sellers won on that daily. But right now, buyers are taking the control back on a daily chart. So you now go look at on a 3-day chart, asking that question like, where are you? And you see like if the price came lower, we are trying to go back up. And if this happens to go above 0.49, now there's a 3-day candle, so you still have time to move. Last one opened on 25th, closed on 28th. This one just opened today. So you are looking for 28, 29, 30, and then next candle. So that 3 days, if you can close above 0.49, then you're talking about what we showed earlier, towards a dollar mark. Now, when you go towards a dollar mark, the bullish sentiment is going to go super high and a lot of FOMO is going to come in, because as you break through 0.6 range, that is trendline resistance here and a trendline resistance or horizontal resistance range here. So as you break through that level, you are raising something which we followed a long time. So you break through this one and then you go higher. So maybe 0.9, then 1.6, then $2, then the test of all-time high is $3.8. All of this has to come into the price. So if you are in the market, it is great to be in the market right now because the pain is huge. As you see, the volatile movement of your portfolio is never easy to look at and digest. But believe me, those who go through this phase and have the patience and build that resiliency here, when the market goes back up, we all know how it ends. It's maybe 2 months, 3 months, that's it. And you see portfolios going 10, 20, 30x on average. Some of the assets which you have in your portfolio can literally do 100x, 50x. They just burst. So depending on what type of an investor you are, if you have 5, 10, 15 assets in well-diversified portfolio, meaning you have 2, 3 assets which are highly correlated, but you have another 3 assets which is a different set of correlation. Now that gives you a higher advantage. So if you are looking to build such a portfolio in this crypto market, you can look at the Patreon. The link is given in the description below, where we discuss through a lot of different assets right now, showing you that we are going to go higher. Now I'm working on a monthly digest for my members and I'm like, okay, this is really exciting. A lot of assets right now are reversing the downside and they are getting that reversal pattern at a long-term support. And some of these are showing you they may literally do a 70 to 100x. I'm like, okay, having 1% in such an asset gives you 100% of your portfolio back if that happens. And if it does not, it's only 1% which you are willing to risk. But yeah, you're not willing to risk 100 assets. You're not literally going to do that. Maybe 1 or 2 or 3 asset max. Because it's at that point, even if one of them blow off, you make 100% of your portfolio back from one asset. And if 2 of them go down, it's still okay. For me, it is still okay. But yeah, I'm not looking for that 1,000,000% gains, which some assets rarely gives. So if you are in the market right now and you observe that the volatility is coming back into the market, you're observing price action increasing, you need to look at different assets through the big cap, small cap, micro cap, but make sure you know which asset you are entering and why you entered. Because if you enter and the price drops and you really don't know why you entered into that asset, now you have the question, should I buy more? Should I sell this? That is the hardest part which I've seen with a lot of members. So here, being a guy in the crypto, I would always advocate for you to make that decision before you enter. Why am I entering this asset? It's not because someone in the internet said buy this. You're looking at that asset and there is a technical thing which is great, but is that project valid fundamentally? If it's a trade which you're entering with 0.2%, 0.5% of your portfolio, maybe that's okay. But I personally make sure like, okay, this is a project which is running and that's why I'm putting my money there. Fundamentally, it's strong. Technically, it's an opportunity. So you see opportunity, you seize that opportunity. But if you see 100 opportunity, you need to make sure, okay, I literally have to go through these and make sure I'm going to pick 3 because that's not an easy choice, right? So guys, if you received value for your time, please do hit that like and subscribe button. I'll meet you guys on the next video. Bye-bye.